Hey, what's going on guys, it's Cynical and welcome back to another video. Today for you guys, I want to list the best world for every single Kingdom Hearts game. There's a lot of worlds out there, but what are the best for each individual title of this series? Now, there is going to be two exceptions here. I am not going to be listing the best world for Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories or Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. I guess for obvious reasons, Chain of Memories didn't really have worlds, they're basically just rooms that are themed to that world. And Union Cross is, well, Union Cross. Keep in mind too, these are just my personal favorite worlds that I enjoyed in each of the Kingdom Hearts games. Be sure to list yours. For Kingdom Hearts 1, I'm gonna have to go with Hollow Bastion. This was a really hard choice to make because it was between Hollow Bastion or Traverse Town. I think Traverse Town is hands down one of the best original Kingdom Hearts worlds, with it being a very close second for me personally. But I had to go with Hollow Bastion just because I feel like it's more of a fleshed out world compared to that of Traverse Town. Acting as one of the game's later levels, Hollow Bastion is an example of a Kingdom Hearts original world done right. You have some puzzle solving, you have the platforming, and of course you have an awesome setting to depict that of your final few steps before the game wraps up. Journeying through all of those whimsical Disney worlds, all of those familiar locations that you knew from watching the corresponding Disney movie, only to arrive in a brand new area that is exclusive to that of the Kingdom Hearts story, in this massive castle bearing that of the Heartless Sigil, is nothing short than breathtaking. Hollow Bastion's platforming is great because it's not to the point of being absolutely annoying, unlike a few of the other worlds throughout Kingdom Hearts 1, from the very get-go in the Rising Falls area, having to ascend up the different stone platforms to reach the entrance of the castle, only to climb to the top of the castle to face off against Riku Ansem. I also feel like Hollow Bastion is the most fleshed out world in Kingdom Hearts 1, with so many different areas, nooks and crannies to explore, from the very bottom of the castle in its basement section all the way up to the very top, with secret elevators, hidden platforms, hidden rooms, puzzle solving when it came to the switches throughout the level to uncover hidden doors, as well as the chests requiring gravity magic to bring them down so that you can actually open them, the use of Blizzard against the bubbles to turn them into platforms you can jump on to reach a higher ledge. The story presented in Hollow Bastion is also some of the best in the entire game, with coming across Beast, being left with only the wooden sword, facing off against Riku in the entrance, and fighting him again at the very top of the tower with a stronger moveset. While this fight was absolutely excruciating back when I was a kid due to the original version of Kingdom Hearts 1 not allowing you to skip this cutscene that plays before the boss fight, it is certainly one of the coolest in the entire game. Kingdom Hearts 2 was another hard pick, as I had to toss up between Radiant Garden and The World That Never Was. I honestly do believe that The World That Never Was is hands down the best Kingdom Hearts final world out of the entire series, but I had to end up going with Radiant Garden. So yeah, technically again, I guess that Hollow Bastion is getting the #1 spot. Kingdom Hearts 2's Radiant Garden, however, is 100% the best hub world in the entire franchise thus far. While I love Traverse Town with the cozy atmosphere that it presents and the abundance of secrets to uncover, Radiant Garden for me is just a little bit more memorable, with the absolute abundance of different events that happen within this world. And it is also host to the best post-game content in the entire Kingdom Hearts series. I would say honestly, if it wasn't for the Cavern of Remembrance, I would probably put The World That Never Was at the #1 spot, but for the simple reason of the Cavern, I have to put this at #1. It was breathtaking to see the evolution of Hollow Bastion from Kingdom Hearts 1 to Kingdom Hearts 2, with the world fully being restored back to the version that Leon, Yuffie, and Sid talked about in Kingdom Hearts 1. Their world felt darkness, obviously, and this is the version of it restored. This is Kingdom Hearts 2's hub world, and the use of the hub world in this game is fantastic, with having to return multiple times with different scenarios playing out. Basically beginning as the starting point for Sora's journey, with the midway point involving some of the coolest scenarios in Kingdom Hearts so far. The 1000 Heartless fight is truly one of the most iconic moments in the entire series, and also all of the happenings before that that actually happens with the fight against the Heartless with the numerous different Final Fantasy characters. That was super cool to actually fight beside Leon and Cloud, as well as Yuffie, and even Tifa too. Another reason why it's memorable though is I suppose you could say the Demyx fight. This is a fight that I know everyone absolutely hated growing up, mainly because it involved a mechanic that if you're not aware of, you can lose to this fight pretty quickly, having to defeat all of the water figures. That, and at this point in the game, Demyx is actually a pretty strong fight. This world also provides us the very first moment that we get a full-on encounter with King Mickey. As most of you guys should know, in Kingdom Hearts 1, Square Enix were only able to use Mickey in one specific scene, and that's right at the end of the game. This time around, they had a little bit more freedom with the mouse. And man, what an absolute introduction to Mickey finally being fully involved in Kingdom Hearts.
Say, fellas, did somebody mention the door to darkness?
What the f? But on top of all of that, the Cavern of Remembrance is the sole reason why I loved Radiant Garden so much. This is, like I said, the best piece of post-game content. I did a video last year talking in depth about this, if you want to check that out. But to quickly summarize, the Cavern of Remembrance did something different with level design compared to any of the other worlds and levels throughout Kingdom Hearts 2. A common criticism made against Kingdom Hearts 2's worlds is that they are, for the most part, all themed hallways. Something that Square Enix did was put a bigger emphasis on combat this time around, and less emphasis on the actual level structure for the worlds in Kingdom Hearts 2. Whereas the worlds came across stronger in the platforming side of things and just general exploration when looking at Kingdom Hearts 1. The Cavern of Remembrance kind of brings us back to those earlier times where there is a bit of focus on actual level design with proper platforming, puzzle solving, having to use certain different abilities to reach a further point in the actual level itself, different interactable switches in order to progress through the level. All of this accumulated to a really cool piece of content to explore, and everything that the Cavern of Remembrance did lacked hard throughout all of the rest of the worlds in the game. Not to mention too that the Cavern is host to that of the Data Organization fights, 13 stronger, harder versions of organization members that we've fought before or haven't previously fought throughout the main game's story. Radiant Garden is simply fantastic. It's super fleshed out, there is a lot of cool moments that happen in this world, and is host to some of the best level design in Kingdom Hearts 2. For Days, I'm gonna have to go with Twilight Town. It was pretty hard to pick a world for Days, only because the worlds that appear in Days are basically worlds that have already appeared in Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. When looking at Neverland, it was cool to see that it was a brand new area, though Neverland is generally despised due to the aerial combat. And then looking at like Agrabah, we got to see a new cave area, but still, most of the worlds throughout this game aren't honestly that enjoyable. It's mainly because of the recon missions and the extra other annoying missions that you have to do throughout them. Twilight Town though, I needed this world to place somewhere in this list as I absolutely love it. It is one of the coolest original worlds, and funnily enough, Days did Twilight Town better than Kingdom Hearts 3 did. That is hilarious to think about. But yeah, it's the world that you go to the most in Days. It's probably the main center point and stage for the entire game as well. I also feel like Square Enix just wanted an excuse to execute Twilight Town even furthermore after the use of it in Kingdom Hearts 2, and so this was a great way to do so. You really do spend most of the time in Days hanging around in Twilight Town, and any more time that I get to spend in this world is always a positive, especially when you're stacked up against the other worlds that are present in Days. Twilight Town absolutely tops the cake. I suppose this world has a little bit of PTSD due to the final moments of Days with Roxas and Xion having to face off, but aside from that, I really enjoy Twilight Town, and it was cool to actually go back to it frequently in this game. Kingdom Hearts Recoded was another hard one to pick in the way of its world, because it doesn't really have the greatest world lineup, mainly rehashing the worlds that we went to in Kingdom Hearts 1, yet again from what we saw in Kingdom Hearts Days. But for Recoded, and this might come as an absolute surprise, I'm probably gonna have to go with the Olympus Coliseum. Yeah, I would say if I were to ask the majority of people what their favorite world was in Kingdom Hearts Recoded, likely it would not be Olympus Coliseum. In fact, I think many people would probably put Olympus Coliseum as the worst world in this game, mainly due to its gameplay gimmick, and that is that it turns the combat into a turn-based game. Now, this might come as an absolute shock and surprise that I'm putting this as best world due to its turn-based gimmick, because if you know me, you know that I just cannot do turn-based games. I struggle to click with the genre, but for whatever reason, I have to tip my hat off to Square Enix for experimenting around and actually trying Kingdom Hearts in a turn-based format, and I think because of that, it makes for a really memorable world. If I think about all the worlds in Recoded, the one that I can instantly think of is Olympus Coliseum because of this gimmick. And while sure, throughout my first playthrough of Recoded, I didn't like this at all, I've done quite a few more since then and come to actually really appreciate them trying the turn-based format in a Kingdom Hearts game. I think I always enjoy when Square Enix experiment and try to put Kingdom Hearts into a different genre. This is why I've come to really enjoy Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories over the years, a game that I initially despised when I first played through it, but now really enjoy to a point where it's no longer my most disliked Kingdom Hearts game. I just love seeing Kingdom Hearts positioned in different genres. The same can obviously then be said for like Melody of Memory being a rhythm game. So to see a little taste test of Kingdom Hearts in a turn-based situation, I really got a kick out of. But again, this placement's hard only because I just didn't really like a lot of the worlds in Kingdom Hearts Recoded, as by this point I think most of us were absolutely fatigued through going through the same worlds time and time again. The Kingdom Hearts 1 lineup appearing in Chain of Memories, then appearing in Days, then appearing in Recoded. It was time for a breath of fresh air. So even though I don't think Olympus Coliseum is fantastic, because of the gameplay gimmick that it provides, providing us with a breath of fresh air, it takes the best world spot. For Birth by Sleep, I'm gonna have to pick Neverland. It was actually a bit of a toss-up between Neverland and Disney Town, which I know is totally surprising. You probably would have assumed that I was going to pick either Mirage Arena, which I am going to exclude because it isn't technically a world, more of just a gameplay system, arena system, or of course Radiant Garden. But Neverland, I think, is fantastic. It's the biggest world in Birth by Sleep next to that of Radiant Garden, I believe to be a little bit bigger, and to actually have a true proper Neverland world, not just the entirety of the world taking place on a ship, or the small island setup that we got in Days, but no, to actually have Neverland, like Neverland, the land of Neverland, as the actual world was fantastic, and a long time coming too. This world did a lot of justice for the actual Peter Pan film, being able to explore Neverland in basically its entirety, with having the Indian camp, Skull Rock, the Lost Boys hideout, with actually being able to see the Lost Boys crew, the fight against Hook, and even Peter Pan. I feel like Birth by Sleep Neverland was probably the most care that went into a world throughout the entirety of Birth by Sleep. And not to also mention just the general exploration of this world too, with it actually tackling a lot of verticality, something that hadn't been seen in Kingdom Hearts for quite some time since Kingdom Hearts 1. For Dream Drop Distance, I'm gonna have to go with Traverse Town. Now, this was a really easy pick for me, only because I really didn't like the world lineup in DDD. I am thankful, however, that Square Enix finally decided to switch up the worlds for Dream Drop Distance, not rehashing the same areas that we've been to in previous games. Obviously, we did technically have some returning worlds, like Traverse Town, the world that never was, as well as The Grid, and technically Prankster's Paradise, using that of the Pinocchio IP. But one rule that they definitely stuck to was if a world is going to return, we are going to provide some brand new areas, and looking at The Grid, it is the take on the more modern version of Tron, and Prankster's Paradise is a brand new area to that of the Pinocchio world. Obviously, for Riku's side of things, we have Monstro, but still, it was refreshing nonetheless. I absolutely have to put Traverse Town though, because it needs to get a spot somewhere on this list, and I really love how they brought us back to this world, but expanded upon it. To know that there is more to Traverse Town than just the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd districts is really cool. To see the post office area, and even knowing that a 4th district exists. I'll say that Traverse Town doesn't quite feel the same that it does in Kingdom Hearts 1, and I think it's mainly because of that whole camera angle type thing. It's brought back a little bit in DDD. Things don't feel as big, and that cozy vibe isn't as present because of this, but seeing more of Traverse Town is an absolute treat, and especially the 4th district. It is simply beautiful. This was also the world that introduced the World Ends With You crew, Neku and the gang. Yeah, for the first time, Square Enix decided to incorporate some of their other video game characters into Kingdom Hearts outside of Final Fantasy, potentially meaning that this could open the doors for other Square Enix characters to enter into the Kingdom Hearts universe, though we are currently at a point where we struggle to even get Final Fantasy characters into Kingdom Hearts 3, so let's bring it back to basics first before we start seeing any other characters. But still, it was so cool to see some other Square Enix characters, especially from a very niche title of theirs, and at that point only had one installment appear in Kingdom Hearts, though just looking at the general style and aesthetic of The World Ends With You, it fits in right at home with Cage. And for Kingdom Hearts 3, personally, the game that I believe did the worlds the best, at least looking at the Disney worlds, and not so much the original worlds, I'm gonna have to go with the Caribbean. This was quite a hard decision to make, only because I think all of the Disney worlds throughout Kingdom Hearts 3 were executed fantastically when just looking at the sheer level design of things. One of the big things that Square Enix wanted to hone in on though for Kingdom Hearts 3's Disney worlds is for them to have certain different gimmicks for at least most of the worlds present here, and the Caribbean absolutely nails this gimmick perfectly. Also because this is the biggest, largest, most wide open world we've had in a Kingdom Hearts game too. I think this is the perfect example of Kingdom Hearts positioned in a more open world type format. Though I know a fair amount of people despise and criticize the pirate ship system in the Caribbean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. The setup of jumping onto the pirate ship, getting involved with naval battles, and going off to explore different islands was an absolute joy, and completely encompassed the theme of Pirates of the Caribbean perfectly. While I do feel like overall the story that was executed here to portray at World's End wasn't really that great and felt a little bit rushed in areas, I think from just the gameplay side of things, the Caribbean is just hands down the best Kingdom Hearts 3 world. Because the world also took on a more realistic type art style as well, it means that this is probably the best looking world in Kingdom Hearts 3. And while yeah, I know that most of the world is pretty much just water, there is so much exploration to be done here, considering too that a lot of it is just completely optional. This is where I feel like the world's story could have taken us in a direction of actually having to explore at least maybe 2 of the islands with a few story scenarios mixed in. The fact that you don't actually need to see so much of this world, probably about 80% of it, and that it is just optional, really harnesses the exploration factor, and it's something that had been lacking from Kingdom Hearts for an extremely long time, since Kingdom Hearts 1. Truly, this world kind of brought me back to that feeling of, oh, okay, there are actually off-the-beaten-path tracks that you can go to explore to uncover treasures. I need more of that in my Kingdom Hearts games, and the Caribbean executed it perfectly. I wasn't exactly the biggest fan of the underwater gameplay, but where you do have a world that is host to that of a pirate theme with islands and a lot of water, it was a no-brainer that obviously there had to be some type of underwater gameplay. Generally despise this kind of thing, didn't mind it too much here, and also to see the Port Royal area completely fleshed out with the fort up on the hill with the town and the townsfolk all kind of walking around, minding their business, doing their own thing, giving us that sense of this is a living, breathing world, one of the biggest things I wanted for Kingdom Hearts 3's world setups. But without a doubt, the Caribbean is the best world in Kingdom Hearts 3. But that right there, guys, are all of my favorite worlds throughout the Kingdom Hearts games. As I mentioned, be sure to list yours in the comment section down below. I would love to know. However, guys, that's all for today. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Social links in the description down below. I've been Cynical, and until next time, guys, I'll catch you later. Peace.